TG Geeks, episode 254, December 30th, 2019. Streaky Trumpets to the rescue! Hello and welcome to the last webcast of 2019 from tggeeks.com.
Wow.
Where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre. You name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane. We're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. And it truly is, wow, the time, this year has just flown by.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm shocked that we're considering this is the last episode of the year.
Exactly.
And I'm Ben Raggington coming to you from, I'm actually in Owasso.
Are
we in Owasso
we
this
maybe
time?
in Oklahoma City.
We may be Oklahoma. That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe in Oklahoma City.
Yep. So let's get on with this show.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
Well, the reason I said the streaky trumpets, actually she been called
something else.
A cheeky strumpet.
Which is not the nicest thing in the world.
Well, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
Jocelynne Simone, who is also known as Madame Askew, and her Madame Askew and the Temporal Entourage, and she's going to tell us how that name came about and what it is actually that she does in the steampunk world. It's a fascinating interview with her. We're sitting in her living room with Mr. Cake with us, her cat.
Yes.
Monsieur Gatteau, as she calls him. And then we're going to have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, everybody's favorite feedback. We have our shout-outs. And second segment, we'll maybe talk about something. I don't know. We're time shifting, as we have told you.
Yeah.
This is the last episode of that time shifting. So hopefully we'll have new things in our weekly recap. And then we'll have our regular shout-outs. And let's just get on with talking to Madame. It sounds like a Hallmark movie. And this is anything but a Hallmark movie.
No.
1. And this time we have a very special guest, and we're sitting here drinking tea and just chatting and chit-chatting, and we said, we have got to just record this. So we're here with...
We did? Okay.
Give me a break. Think you're being funny, do you?
No, never.
Anyway, we're here with Jocelynne Simone, a.k.a. Madame Askew. Or
Hello.
Madame Askew.
Hello.
So we're going to talk to Jocelynne first.
Yes.
And tell us who you are, what your background is, and because you do some amazing costumes.
Thank you.
And costuming and wearables and accoutrement,
Thank
etc.
you. Thank you.
Including your little hat for Godzilla.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I'm so happy to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for coming and having tea and meeting my cat, who will probably participate in the interview too.
Yes.
So I am a costumer. I make custom bespoke costumes, but I also do just a lot of Victoriana, and I teach costuming. So I teach workshops and one-on-one lessons. So that's what I do now, but I came to it in a very roundabout way. My background academically is linguistics. So that's my degree. I studied at the University of Texas in Austin and the University of Arizona. And I also went to opera school for a while. So I did
you're
not.
just fitting right in. We love opera.
That's so good. So good. So yes, I did not plan as a young person to make costumes professionally, but I wanted to wear them.
Yes, of course.
And I'm short, and I have a very particular figure. And I have always had certain vast tracts of land. And so I...
huge.
huge. So I could not just buy costumes off the rack.
You were Princess Lookie then.
I was, very much. And I really should do that as a cosplay sometime. But maybe like Queen at this point.
Well, if you're going to do Princess Look, you have to have blood on the face.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, right after she's been mauled.
You're not wrong. Oh my gosh. So I wanted to wear costumes, and the only way I could wear costumes was to make my own. So I started making costumes, and this was in the days before, or just as the internet was becoming a thing. So there weren't like tutorials. Right. YouTube was a far future conception. There were no videos.
You had books and patterns.
If you could find them. And so in those early days, there was a lot, I think for many of us, a lot of reinventing the wheel.
Oh, wow.
And sort of coming up with materials that could do the job that weren't necessarily the best materials. So I also make corsets, and in those days there were corset suppliers, but they were hard to find if you didn't know who or where.
Right.
So we would use all kinds of things to be our corset stays.
Make your own corsets.
You just sort of had to make it work. So that's how I got started, and I refined my skills over time just by making a lot of mistakes. And
don't you learn the best that way? Sometimes?
Absolutely.
I was going to say, isn't that how everybody kind of perfects their craft? It's just you trial and error.
Absolutely. And I mean, I made lots of mistakes.
More error than trial.
More error
Lots
than
of
anything.
wardrobe malfunctions.
Oh my gosh. Fortunately, nothing that got me arrested. But I did wear a few costumes that were agonizing because I just did not know how to put them together. Yeah. And some of those things we used for our bones in our corsetry were not great. Well, one time I used like the sort of bamboo skewers you use for...
No! God almighty.
No!
Yeah. I mean, I cut off the sharp ends.
But still, one of those things breaks and it splinters and you got...
Oh, no, it was not great. It was so uncomfortable. Yeah. I wore it once. Yeah.
Just once.
Just once.
So you and I kind of have a little bit of a mutual, what's the word?
You have commonality.
Yes, we have a connection.
Yes, a connection.
Yeah.
So, and you grew up in, well, or at least went to a majority of school in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I did. I moved to Tulsa when I was 6 months old, which I don't remember that move.
I wonder.
Mm-hmm. And I grew up there. So I went through all of my education in Tulsa until I was 19.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's my hometown.
Yeah. And well, it was not my hometown, but it was the town.
You lived there enough.
I lived there. I lived in Muskogee.
Yes.
But I then moved to Tulsa, and I lived there for 6 or 8 years. And
we're both Okies.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I have tried to shed that accent, and it comes out every once in a while. But
usually when he's visiting with his sister.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, how did you kind of... What happened that caused Madame Askew to be... born, shall we say?
Right.
What psychological trauma happened for this new personality to emerge?
And who is Madame Askew?
Oh, well, the trauma question is a great one, but that's very deep well. So I got into steampunk probably 10, 11 years ago, sort of when the second wave of steampunk was really going quite strong. I had been familiar with the books and the literature without knowing the term for some time. A lot of people who fell into steampunk.
Right.
We were already reading those books and
doing those things.
And it was really wonderful. I had been reading these books and longing for more stories like that. And so we did have Google by then. So I was doing
There's a name for my mania.
Right? So I found the genre, and I was married at the time. And my ex-husband was also really intrigued and interested. And I happened to find that there's this whole community that actually took the ideas out of the books and made them into real three-dimensional art.
Wow.
So, and at the time, there was a convention going to happen here in Tucson in about 3 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can see the madness.
Right? The wheels started
The wheels
turning.
are spinning.
Right? So we had 3 months until the very first Wild Wild West Con, and we just discovered that there's this whole rich community of people creating costumes and
a whole community that's rich in ideas,
rich.
not rich.
Oh no, no, rich in ideas,
Not wealthy.
not wealthy.
rich in creativity, not wealthy. All of our money goes to gears.
Exactly.
Also rub and buff. So yeah, we both were very excited and wanted to have a costume for that first Wild Wild West Con. And I just absolutely made all sorts of terrible choices, trying to push through making a full Victorian inspired steampunk costume for my very first event, for my very first time. I made my very first Victorian style corset. I'd been doing Elizabethan bodies and, sort of Tudor corsetry up until that point. So I switched by several centuries, and it was too much to try and finish in 3 months. I did not get everything done for myself. I did get some pieces done for my at the time husband. He bought a number of beautiful things, so we went and had a good time. The first Wild West Con was very rough. It was a brand new con,
Right.
run by people who hadn't run a con before.
Oh, dear.
But it is in such a perfect location.
Right.
And just the idea was so good that even though it was very rough around the edges, I think a lot of us really fell in love. So
Right.
I came out of that and I wanted to do it all the time. I wanted a community. So I went looking. Was there a community here in Tucson? There was.
There was.
It was.
You found them. You tracked them down.
I tracked them down on the internet.
I'm being a part of you.
Right. They were not very active at the time. And I don't know if they were prepared for someone like me. So part of my background is that I had the great privilege to work for the Santa Fe Opera in audience development in their public relations department as an intern in my 20s. And I was really fortunate to receive an amazing education in public relations, audience development, event management. All of that
You slipped into the costume shop every once in a while.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
sure.
I definitely did. It was amazing. Just such an education to walk into that costume shop. And I don't know if you two have been to the Santa Fe
Oh,
Opera.
yes, several times.
So good.
Yep.
So good. Just everything about it is an amazing education. So I came with that background. And when I saw that the organization was having some challenges, having regular engagement, growing the community, putting on events, I offered to help, not to take over. I promise. I only offered to help. Cross my heart.
It happens, though.
Right.
You know, they find somebody
Best
that's willing,
laid plans of mice and men.
to do something, and then all of a sudden you're doing it all.
Right. Well, the gentleman who had been running it just was really disenchanted with the experience.
Oh, dear.
Having a hard time. And he had not had the experiences I did with working in a professional environment, doing all the things you need to do to organize and run a community group for people.
Right.
So I threw myself into it and started organizing events regularly and, building the community by 3s and 4s of people. And I had some very strict guidelines for myself in that I intended to always be the first one at every event. I was not on time unless I was 30 minutes early.
Right.
But best laid plans of mice and men, right? I could never seem to make it by that deadline for myself. So I was always showing up like 5 minutes early instead of 30 and feeling very rushed and late and running around like a mad woman. And this is very critical detail. My costume would get increasingly askew as I was running around.
I am beginning to sense a pattern.
Right. And so at one such event, I had this little hat on, fascinator, and it was just sliding further and further to the side of my head. I'm running around the room trying to get everything organized. And some friends say, "You are so askew." And I said, "I know, I'm running late." And they go, "You know what? That could be your name." And I'm like, "Oh my, please don't call me askew because I'm late all the time. Oh no."
No.
And they said, "Yes, Madame Askew, that should be your name." And it stuck.
Aha.
So I had this moment after being named by my friends who love me, Madame Askew. I was like, well, who is Madame Askew? What's this personality? Am I going to be like, oh, I'm just this poor, event organizer who's always running late? That's not very fun. No. Or am I going to really develop this character? Yeah. So that's how she was born.
Wow. You talk about getting all rumpled and your costume. I listened to the Met Opera radio a lot on Sirius Radio. Sirius XM.
Oh, yes, yes.
I have to say the proper thing. And they talked to this, it's a Met moment, and they talked to a guy that's in the costume shop, and he said, some people you do this to, and you do that to, and it's all perfect, and people want lifts in their shoes, and the blah, 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 and then this and that and the other, and then, of course, there's always the ones that no matter what you do, they always look like an unmade bed.
Pavarotti.
Well, we weren't going to say, but we both thought when we heard it, well, he could only be talking about Luciano.
Yes. I've heard stories about him and his costumes.
Oh, my.
May he rest in peace.
Yes. Anyway, so we have now Madame Askew has been born and is just taking a sip of tea. So what is it that Madame Askew does?
So Madame Askew is a time-traveling tiffin mistress. So
Tiffin?
Tiffin, tea time. Right, and also tea dueling.
Tea doodling.
Yes.
Doodling?
Dueling.
Dueling.
Well,
Dueling.
Tea doodling comes later.
Well, that's all the time, really.
And we're all having a nice chat.
But, I mean, there's other kinds of doodling, right?
Is that going to be a new metaphor?
Yes, I think it just
Doodling,
happened.
theatre.
Doodling and theatre.
There we go. The doodling theatre.
Well, yeah, no, if we're lucky. So, tea dueling, and then it became teapot racing as well, and compliment dueling, and events, and all sorts of things with my partner, the Grand Arbiter.
And so how did you discover the Grand Arbiter?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we are two demi-mondaines. And we're very cheeky, terrible creatures. We met at a fete for a friend who was celebrating her 40th birthday at the time. We were...
God, that was 20 years ago.
Was it? You don't...
For me.
5. It was only 5, darling. So... we were there, and we were the only 2 people who were not paired up with a partner. So it was just the 2 single people at the side of the room, and we latched on to each other and sort of bonded in the midst of this fete with all of the drinking and the, libations and the singing, which actually was all quite good, because it was a room full of formal theatricals.
Former theatricals.
Right, so we'd all spent some time trotting the boards and...
Theatricals.
Yes.
Okay, I'm running the definitions in my head now.
Yeah, the clean one.
Oh,
clean ones. Yes.
That theatre.
That theatre.
So we sang the night away. We had a lovely time, and we started corresponding very shortly after. And the Grand Arbiter decided that we should travel together, that would be ever so much fun. And I had to agree with him. He came to one of my first large tea parties, which I throw with the Tucson Steampunk Society every December. The Dickens tea. The Dickens tea. And so he came to the very first one and saw tea dueling for the first time. It was only the second time I had officiated at a tea duel. And of course, the Grand Arbiter, for those who have not met him, is quite the dandy, and he is very opinionated with great insight on many topics. So, of course, he used his insight to bring some commentary to the tea duel. And I could not refrain from joining him in commentary.
So it's a little tit for tat.
It was. And
tea and tit for tat.
Tea and tea and
tea
and all the tea. And my cheeky cat, Cake, who is testing gravity even now.
My lord.
You
Crazy
little monster. So a partnership was born, and we started going all over the place as judges and commentators for tea dueling, and as eventually presenters and panelists and event organizers all over the southwestern United States. Wow. And so we've branched out a bit since then. So it's been very lovely.
So with this tea dueling, for those that don't know what that is, and you mentioned the tea racing, and it's like, what?
Teapot racing.
Teapot racing. What on earth is that? Tell us about the tea dueling first.
All right. Well, tea dueling is the art and sport of settling your matters of honor upon the field of tea. You meet with a partner across 2 teacups. Some mysterious individual brings you tea. You should accept the tea. It's always good. And then another mysterious individual will ply you with biscuits. These are your official weapons from the farm of Pepperidge here in the colonies. They are,
in the colonies,
yes. It's different in the motherland, but here in the colonies we must make do. They are Chessman shortbread biscuits, very important, very, you can have expectations of these biscuits. Yes. They're reliable. Yes. They want to thwart you. They want to shame people. We can rely upon them to be cheeky, which is what we need for tea dueling. So you take this biscuit between 2 fingers only, on the same hand, thank you, in a pinching maneuver along one edge, and you dip them 50% or more into very hot tea for 5 seconds. And then on the count of...
If it doesn't disintegrate.
Right, yes. So then you raise your biscuit and you have this very soggy biscuit that is threatening to disintegrate, to collapse, to crumble. And your job is to be the last one to nom your biscuit 90% or more in one fell swoop into your mouth all together. Don't make me measure the crumbs. That's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
So you have to be the last one. It sounds easy, but it's not.
No, I struggle with
right. So there,
with getting it right. And there
it goes.
Need a spoon now.
Yeah, no, big mess. Shame for everyone. So two gentlemen out of England, Dr. Jeff and Tinker, sorts of created the guidelines, the rules that most of us follow in England. Very kind. They share it with the world. Here in the Western Territories, we take some liberties with the rules, but we are very egalitarian. We spread the liberties around for everyone.
To everyone.
So, yeah.
That's one. And so this teapot racing.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I love it. I love tea dueling too, but teapot racing really steals my heart in some specific ways. It was invented in New Zealand in New Zealand.
Lovely Kiwis.
Yeah, they're wonderful. They have a steampunk village. They do.
Do they?
As well
they
as
do.
a Hobbit village,
And
as well as
Hobbit-
everything.
They have everything.
Now I love the Kiwis even more. I think they're
adore
wonderful.
them, right? And they have sheep, and I'm very keen on sheep. In a perfectly platonic way.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Owen.
Specify.
Vicar of Dibley.
Right. Oh my goodness. So they invented teapot racing. So Lady Simona de Montgomery created it in honor of her dear friend who had passed away. And so she wanted to create something that was very accessible and inclusive and welcoming and very, very silly. These are all things I personally adore. So immediately I'm in love with this sport. You don't have to be an engineer or a genius, although we welcome engineers. We do. You don't have to be able to eat biscuits or hold a cup of tea. You don't even have to be able to walk anywhere. So, and it's all ages are welcome at teapot racing. You take a teapot, or something that's teapot shaped, or something you can convince the judges is a teapot.
I'm a little teapot.
Yes. And then you attach it to a radio controlled chassis.
Oh dear.
Yes. And you should decorate it very flamboyantly and give it a name and a story. Be prepared to sing and dance. Showmanship is key. And then you run this teapot on its chassis through an obstacle course that's set up at the whim of the judges.
Oh dear.
Oh yes. It's so good. No, it's wonderful.
Wow.
It's really good.
It sounds like it'd be positively tragic in the event that the pot should fall.
Oh well, don't use a pot you love.
No.
The teapot racers do crash. They do fall off the stage sometimes.
Oh.
One tried to run me off the stage once. That was very upsetting.
So then the idea is, I would never do this. This thing is absolutely dreadful. Here we go.
Perfect. Absolutely. And well, I actually have a teapot next to you with Godzilla in it that would be perfect for a teapot racer. It started life as a child's plastic tea set, and it's been carefully papier-mâchéd to become something fitting for Godzilla to ride in. Yeah, so it may become a teapot racer.
You never know.
At some point. Yeah.
We're running up against the time.
Oh, yeah,
here.
sorry.
Sadly.
I'm very chatty.
So tell us and tell our listeners where they can find Madame Askew, and then we will find out how we can contact Jocelynne.
Oh, absolutely. So you will find Madame Askew on the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just look for Madame Askew. I also have a Patreon at Madame Askew. So MADAMEASKEW.
And for any of those patrons on Patreon, you give lots of lessons and tips and
all sorts of things. Microfiction, tutorials, private lessons, reviews, behind-the-scenes information about costume construction and our adventures.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So how can we find out more about Jocelynne? Does she have something?
So, Jocelynne, I do have a presence on social media. I mostly interact as Madame Askew online.
Okay.
But if you come to the Book of Faces, you'll find me there.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Well,
although at this point it's beginning to feel like the Book of Faces, but
whoops. Anyway,
depends
with
on
that,
the day. Yeah.
we will say thank you so much for being on our show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This is Chuck Tomasi, author of Podcasting for Dummies and host of Technorama, the podcast for geeks. And you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks, because geek is better than cool.
I always get confused by that when I play that one because I think it's, I have the wrong sound in the wrong order here. Because that's kind of what he says at the end of the Technorama.
Yeah, you think you're listening to the bumper.
Yep. And here's a few selected birthdays for December 30th, 2019 through January 5th, 2020. 2020.
Wow.
Wow. How about that? December 30th, Rudyard Kipling wrote The Jungle Book, Gunga Din, The Man Who Would Be King, and Jack Lord, character actor and a staple in TV and movies until Hawaii Five-0 came along. Actually, he was Felix in Dr. No, but Hawaii Five-0, 14 years on the air that show was.
Good grief.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Also on December 30th, Michael Nesmith, The Monkees.
Yes, but
Hey for the Monkees.
But the thing the most interesting bit of trivia is what his mother did.
Yeah, she invented liquid paper.
Yeah, so it's like they never needed to work ever again.
Yep. And Tracy Ullman and Paul Stuckey
of Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. And good friend of ours, Sam Holdren. December 31st.
Oh, my favorite.
Mr. John Denver, who sadly left us way too soon.
Way too soon.
And Anthony Hopkins. Hello, Clarice.
Yeah.
And Ben Kingsley. What else do you say about those two? My gosh. Two huge British actors.
Massive.
And Diane von Furstenberg, who was a fashion designer, or is a fashion designer. And Val Kilmer. And good friend Duncan Richoff and Michelle Romano. Happy birthday. January 1st, Paul Revere. George Washington Carver, who was an inventor and scientist of color. And Frank Langella. Wow. What do you say? What do you say about Frank Langella?
Well,
great actor. Very dignified.
Very dignified. Very British.
Yep.
He played Dracula in one movie that Mom just absolutely adores.
Yeah. And also on January 1st, E.M. Forster, who was an author, British author, and one of his best stories actually was Maurice, and it was published posthumously because at the time that he wrote it, homosexuality was still a crime in England, and it deals with that subject matter.
It's
and
the heart of the story.
Yeah, and what could happen to somebody that was convicted of, the that sin, shall we say. So it's a wonderful story. It's a Merchant Ivory film also, so check it out. You should check that film out. And Alfred Stieglitz, who was an influential photographer in the early part of the 20th century, and he actually organized the first exhibition of Ansel Adams photographs.
Oh.
And he sold actually 6 photos in that. And Xavier Cugat, who was a musician, and he actually was a violinist, and he played for Enrico Caruso in several concerts that Caruso gave. He was also married to Charo, who is an...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, fabulous flamenco guitarist.
Amazing guitarist.
Wow. And also good friends Natasha Bryant and Shintaro Chujitsu and Cindy Fretz, my one-time aunt. I guess she's still my aunt, even though... But she's still my aunt.
She's still your aunt.
Yeah. January 2nd, Isaac Asimov.
One of the other of the Holy Trinity.
The other of the Holy Trinity, yes. One of the other. And Jack Hanna, the animal guy.
Yeah.
And Barry Goldwater, he was a Phoenician, politician, and of the Goldwater's department store. He is an ally to the LGBTQ community. And St. Luke's was his hospital. Too bad that it has closed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his mother was a nurse there in the olden days. And, you know, St. Luke's actually was built on a former Hohokam Indian city site,
and didn't know that either.
Started out as a TB hospital, tuberculosis hospital, like 12 tents out there, and then became a big hospital and first to do a heart procedure in the state of Arizona. And unfortunately, they have closed now. So January 3rd, Greta Thunberg, who was a teenage activist. And
she's an amazing young lady.
Amazing young lady. And J.R.R. Tolkien. He wrote a little book about hobbits. And George Martin. The George Martin.
Oh, the George Martin. Sir George Martin, as yes. in the Beatles.
Exactly. And Ray Milland, who starred in a number of things and also had a role in the original Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, he was in the pilot. Cyrus Urey was his name, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But I remember seeing him. He did a bunch of horror films.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
One dealing with X-ray vision. I think it was simply called. Oh, I can't remember what it was called. The Man with the X-ray vision. I think it was what it was called.
Salem's Lot, I believe.
Was that
Ray Milland?
Oh, I thought that was James Mason.
Oh, that was James Mason. That's right. Sorry. Anyway, but that Salem's Lot was creepy.
Oh, I love that movie.
Also on January 3rd, Victor Borga.
Oh my gosh. The Dane, the Great Dane.
The Great Dane, exactly. He was an incredible pianist, and a comedian to boot. And Sergio Leone, he was the inventor of the spaghetti westerns.
No kidding.
Yeah. And Thomas Bangalter is Daft Punk. And who knows what he looks like.
Actually, there's been photos of him and the partner.
Yeah.
They were just talking to somebody in some place, and they are so nondescript that they have to have the helmets on. Yep. Not to hide their identity, but to make them interesting.
Yeah. And also a Facebook friend, Dean Auric. January 4th, Isaac Newton. The doctor dropped an apple on his head.
That's apocryphal.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Isn't Doctor Who canon?
No, but it only goes so far as the doctor then had to get down from a tree and explain it to him.
There you go. That's the story.
Actually, I was thinking about there's a holographic representation of Isaac Newton in a Star Trek episode. And in it, he says, the holographic representation says, "The day that apple fell changed my life." And Data looks at him and says, "I thought that story was largely apocryphal." And the hologram says, "How dare you?"
Yes. Also, Matt Frewer, Max Headroom, and Louis Braille, who invented the Braille system of reading for the blind.
Yes.
Also, we have James Bond, who was an ornithologist.
Not that James Bond.
Not that James Bond. He was an ornithologist specializing in birds of the Caribbean. And Graham McTavish.
In a little thing that dealt with a hobbit.
He was a dwarf. He was Dwalin. And Dave Foley, a voice actor who did quite a few Pixar films, among other things.
The best known is Flick.
Yep.
Can't think of anything else that he's done. Do you have a credit?
He was in, I think he was in Ratatouille, and I think he was in Wall-E, and I
didn't know these
several others.
I knew about Flick.
But yeah, he did quite a few other parts. He was also in Prep and Landing.
Yes, he was.
Yes. And then also we have Sterling Holloway,
Who gave voice to Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. And Grace Bumbry, an opera singer of color. She was a fantastic singer. Oh, my gosh. And Facebook friend Julia Camera. January 5th, Bradley Cooper.
Who plays a raccoon.
Trash Panda.
The Trash Panda, yeah.
Yep. Diane Keaton. Robert Duvall and Hayao Miyazaki, the co-founder of Studio Ghibli, is an animator. And Facebook friends Canberra Potter, Lisa Penner, and Terry Potter Ross. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We have some feedback. How about that?
Yes, just a little bit. And oddly enough, this all revolves around episode 251.
And they're all from birthdays.
They're all regarding birthdays.
That's great. Somebody's listening to our show.
Yeah, I guess. Unless they're just looking at the Facebook post.
You never know.
God, I hope not. I'm hoping they're listening to the episode. Anyway, we first get a comment from Susan Fox. She says, old enough to know better, young enough to do it anyway. Thanks, guys. And I got one from Brian Dorn. He says, thanks,
Former
guys.
Classmate of mine.
Says, thanks, guys, for the birthday shout-out. Then we got a comment from actor, writer, producer, jack of all trades, Jason T. Gaffney. He says, thanks for the birthday wishes. Heart, heart, heart. And I got a comment from Des Demise, and she says, thank you. And I like this one. We got this from Hamish Downey. He said, thank you so much for remembering my uncle, because it was his uncle's birthday.
Yeah.
It was totally unexpected, and I was so moved. Thank you. Also, I love how passionate the author is when she talks about her work, and he's talking about Stephanie Weipert. And then we got finally got a comment from, and I'm not going to get this name right, Anthony
DeJoya.
Thank you. And he says, thank you for the birthday love, to kind smiley face. And that's our feedback for this week.
You can leave a comment on our Facebook page or on Twitter or on Facebook. Did I say Twitter, Facebook?
Yes.
And where else? Instagram, and also on tggeeks.com. How about that? On anything that we publish, on all of our content, whether it's an episode or an article. Please leave us a comment and we'll read that on air. If you would like, you can also leave us a voicemail and we'll play that voicemail on air, and you can be famous too, just like us. Call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. Well, as you heard from Madame Askew, the Madame Askew's temporal entourage is a charming and cheeky mistress and designer and teacher of steampunk fashion. She and the Grand Arbiter have live tea sessions on Friday nights at 6:30 p.m. Pacific and Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, and that's on Facebook. Join them for tea and conversation, and please consider supporting them on patreon.com and search for Madame Askew. We are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please, if you see them at a book fair or a con or at any place that has independent creators, please chat them up and talk to other people about them and buy their stuff. Please consider supporting independent creators. Joshua Tree Feeding Program is a non-profit food pantry for the HIV/AIDS community in Maricopa, Pinal counties. They offer a place where the clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home, and they set the place up like a store, and they don't just give you a box. They let the clients pick the choose they want and that they would prefer, so it empowers them to take only the food they want, and nothing is wasted. Remember, you can support Joshua Tree either with a single gift or a monthly recurring gift, and go to jtfp.org. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Well,
here we are. Second segment.
Yeah.
Time shifting.
With nothing to talk about.
Third episode recorded in one day. Do we have anything to talk about? Well, it is the last show for 2019. 5 years, almost 6 doing
Good
this
grief.
now. My gosh. It's amazing. Truly amazing. It's been a great year. Thank you, everybody. We really want to thank everybody that has listened to the show, that's commented on Facebook, Twitter, has read our articles, visited the website. It really means a lot to us. I mean,
Still trying to find a way to crack that shell, but it is what it is.
We do this for you, and we really appreciate the feedback. And seriously, if you have something to say, or you want to tell us something, or you like something about our show, or you don't like something about our show or our website or whatever, please leave us a comment.
Yeah,
we'll be glad to talk about it on air, or if it's something that, you prefer that we don't talk about and you're just telling us about the show or about something else, we're glad to listen to that too. So,
But one thing that I have learned is that there are a lot of people who listen to us that are completely silent.
Completely silent. I know.
And I only find out that they're
lurkers. That's okay.
Yeah, they are. But I learn about the fact that they listen to us and they go to our website through secondhand sources. And it always amazes me to learn of the number of people who do actually listen to this show.
Yeah.
And read our articles.
And I found out that, we discover every so often that our show is being hosted someplace that I never even knew about, whether because through the RSS feed or however it gets there, and we just do thank you. And we want to say, please let us know, and we'll keep doing our thing.
Yeah.
We enjoy doing it.
Yes,
so,
we do.
That's it. And let's see, what have we got next?
Weekly recap.
Yeah. But we get to play the music game.
That's true.
because otherwise it's going to be a really short show.
Well, we know that on Sunday the 22nd, there'll be a Dr. Zombie.
Yes.
On Monday the 23rd, there'll be episode 253.
Yep.
And then on Friday, there will be, I'm guessing that's going to be
A new sushi.
What, 92,
I think. Yeah. Closing in on 100. Thank you, Hamish.
And that's all I know at the moment.
And we're going to be running some more of our holiday movie watching on that Friday. In addition, we might run one of Hamish's reviews that he did for us. It's we'll have other stuff. So please check out everything at tggeeks.com and our Facebook page. Please visit and comment and let us know how we're doing.
Have to give some shout outs to a couple of people for republishing our content. First to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News. You can find the Post-Dispatch News by finding its publisher, Arkle.
The human Arkle.
The human Arkle. He is Brian
It's
Weber.
the holiday Arkle.
The holiday Arkle.
I don't know. Are you the holiday Arkle
Or
now?
is it the
Are you going to be the holiday Arkle?
Is it the winter solstice Arkle?
Oh, winter solstice
He's
Arkle.
Winter
There we go.
solstice Arkle right
Winter
now.
soldier Arkle.
Article?
Article, yes.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier article.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can find the Winter Soldier article. No, you can find the Winter Solstice article by going to Twitter and searching at ARKLE. And he is also on YouTube. You can find him there at youtube.com/Arkle Studios. He has already wrapped the Shameless Cash Grab 3rd season, but he is currently playing Star Trek Online. Check it out, especially if you want to see the USS B. Arthur.
There you go.
And we have to give some shout outs to some Facebook groups for also allowing us to post our content. First to the Gay Geeks After Hours. Yes.
There we go.
I was going to say the Gay Geeks After Hours, and I would have been seriously
that's
disrailed. It would have messed me up badly. But big thanks to their moderators for saying that we could share away there. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share our lovely stuff there. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek, all one word. And we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And lastly, we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays, and listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Was that my good podcast voice?
Well, I won't say it was your bad podcast voice.
You weren't listening, were you? You took your headphones off. I saw.
Lies, slander,
liar. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where a lot of people do listen to us because mobile devices doesn't time out. And you can surf the internet on your desktop as well. So check us out. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast and 2019. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Peace.
Cheers.